Welcome back to 5 Acres Honey Farm. I'm Tara Lynn, and I have just a quick recap of some January hikes that I did. If you're not in North Carolina, you may not be aware, and I've actually chatted with some folks who are in North Carolina and haven't heard about it, that North Carolina declared 2023 the year of the trail. And this was something that was planned a few years ago, and it is the largest celebration of outdoor recreation in our state's history. And I decided after I learned about this that I wanted to try to visit a trail every week this year. And a friend of mine suggested, as she's just very strategic in her suggestions, that instead my goal should be to average visiting a trail every week for this year, which I think is way more attainable, because some weeks I might be able to visit more than one trail and some weeks I may not be able to visit any. So far with this first month, her suggestion worked out well because I was able to go, just like I described, to a few trails in a week, and other weeks maybe just one or none. But overall, I'm going to share about the trails that we visited, and I'm actually going to be more proactive with taking some footage while we're on the trails, because I took a few videos and some photos on the trails, but I had a technical issue and I don't have all of them anymore. So I will share a bit about those places, and I have like a list of, I call it my adventure journal, and I have all different hikes that I'd like to visit around the state. And then in some, I actually have some spots outside of North Carolina that I'm curious about that are within like a few hours drive. So if you have some recommendations for places, please comment and let me know. Or if you've been to any of these trails, because we are planning to go back to some of them, it'd be good to hear any tips that you have. And the first trail that we went to was on New Year's Day. So a lot of folks will, get out and hike on New Year's Day. And the trail was fairly popular. And we did the section of the Appalachian Trail off of Wya Road that goes up to Siler Bald. And it was a really great hike. And I feel like at this time of the year, there's not a lot of foliage around, so you really get to see the nearby mountains. And then once you get up to the Bald, you can see the long range views. And it was a really good picnic spot. And from what I read in the reviews, which I could totally understand and that would be valid, is that it's a great hike to do in the winter. The section of the Bald that goes up the hill, that is like all brambles and like berry bushes and things. So probably good for foraging at another time of the year. But from what folks said in some reviews is that it gets super like buggy, and you can kind of get scratched up, and so you'd want to wear like long pants and things. It was what's supposed to be a fairly cold day, and I was expecting it to be even colder up at the high elevation, but I ended up it was like 65 or something up there. Like it was just way warmer than expected. So it was a great New Year's Day hike. So I highly recommend that. We also have done across the street from that trailhead, and I'll include some links to the trail information, is the Wya Bald Tower. So we've done that before last year. That's a great spot to visit. So if you're you're not in the area for very long, I suggest doing both. The tower you can actually drive to, so it's a long drive, like on a very gravel road, and it's interesting to go to. So if you are just in the area for a short time, definitely check out both. But if you have the opportunity to kind of sorry, my cockatiel's sitting here begging for attention, so you probably hear her. So that one's a good one. The hike we did the following day, so we did kind of New Year's Day, and then the day after was the Gold Mine Loop Trail, and that was in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and that's accessible off of the Lakeshore Drive Trail. And a lot of folks in that area, if you're visiting Bryson City, you might hear about the Road to Nowhere, and there's this 1,500-foot tunnel you can walk through that's no longer accessible to vehicles. And so on the other side of that tunnel, there's a bunch of trails off of the Lakeshore Drive Trail. And the Gold Mine Loop goes down to Fontana Lake, and there are some wild boar traps down there, and definitely some evidence of wild boar. We've seen wild boar while we've hiked off of the Cherahela Skyway.
Hi, they're little babies. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna feed you. So cute.
Can we just take one of us with them?
They're so cute. Look how much smaller these babies are than that mama.
Yeah, the mama's here somewhere.
And they have little stripes on them, which is what the babies have, so they're not fully mature
I'll
yet.
watch the
But we haven't encountered any like while we're on the trail ourselves, and I'd kind of be really scared to encounter them. So it was nice to see the traps and things, they but it was also a little scary because you are far from everything. It's also a great hike. So we live in Pittsboro, North Carolina, and the town of Pittsboro has a lake in it that a lot of people don't know about. I feel like there's not enough signage about it and not enough promotion from the town parks. And the trail, so it's the Town Lake Park Trail. They've got, definitely like, the great trail map. They've got trees labeled, and there's actually a little dam and a little waterfall area. And it's a cute place. Also a spot that I only recommend going to in the winter. I had gone there in the summertime once years ago, and ticks, chiggers, not a pleasant experience. So I only go there really December through January, maybe a little bit into February. But I try to pick really cold days to visit that park. And so that's a really nice spot. And there's definitely some kind of like off little trails that go up to some other roads. So it's easy, once you kind of know them, to be able to walk from downtown to the lake and back and forth in there too. So the other trail that I did also in Pittsboro, we have not too far from us is Central Carolina, and here comes Cleo, Central Carolina Community College, and that Chatham County campus has a 1 mile paved walking trail there. So it's easy to go to, but I'll often go on that trail and then do kind of like an urban hike around town. So Cleo is very interested in the camera right now. The other trail that I went to was Sandy Pines Preserve in Wendell, just east of the Raleigh area. And I was really intrigued by this spot because I noticed that one, it's fairly level. And so like the other hikes that I had done, I mean, the Pittsboro one, not there, it's fairly level too, but the earlier hikes in the month had been, fairly steep terrain. And so the Sandy Pines, very level, obviously sandy. And what's cool is that it's also shared with horses. The trails are also equestrian trails, so it was really nice to see folks showing up with their horse trailers and taking their horses out on the trail. And it's also a dog-friendly place, so it was really nice to see both the dogs and the horses out there. So those were the kind of like official trails that are actually like public places that I went to. However, I also went on kind of like an office park trail in the Research Triangle Park area. And then I have trails here in our backyard, and then we've been building trails out at my apiary in the mountains near Bryson City area. So I definitely have those to go on anytime that I have the free time, but I know they're not really the same, and that would be of interest to anyone watching. But it's kind of nice because I think focusing on the year of the trail, like yes, like get out there and go explore all of the different unique places that are across the state, but also you can, if you have the property, you can create your own trails and have that space for yourself. And if you don't have the property, that's actually like back when I lived in apartments, I did some volunteer work, and I actually spent a week, and I'll link to see if this program still is active, but I did a week-long volunteer vacation in Maine, and I did trail work the entire week, so helping to repair boardwalks and remove invasive species. And it was really awesome, and I learned so many skills from that. And I did some work last year with a local group, and it just kind of shows how much you can get done in a short time, and just helping it to improve the habitat and the space. So curious about your recommendations for different trails. Please comment, let me know if you've been to these places. curious about your experiences there. I'm hoping to post a recap every month of the different trails that I visit this year, so stay tuned for that.